Hi everyone and welcome to this video review. Today we're talking about the Synology DS420j 4-bay NAS drive. When you take the NAS drive out of the box, you get all of the essentials such as a power cable to give it power and life, obviously, a quick start guide and a spare Ethernet or Ethernet cable. Now, before I begin, the main purpose of having a 4-bay NAS instead of a 2-bay, for example, would be to increase the storage capability, as well as obviously having a more gruntier NAS drive to handle the processes that you're going to throw at it. This NAS drive is a lot more enterprise looking than the standard one that I had before, the 2-bay. The 2-bay one was what I would consider a low profile home one. This one looks like a serious enterprise grade piece of kit. It's not low profile, it doesn't look as clean and as sleek as the others, but it looks like it packs the punch, so just bear that in mind when you're trying to integrate this into your home setup. It is big, it is bulky. Immediately it does have the flashing lights and the blue LEDs, but these can be turned off in the hardware settings. Just bear this in mind when considering this NAS drive. It's not a small scale, low profile piece of kit. It's big and bulky and powerful. Okay, a very quick rundown of what you actually get on the NAS drive. On the front we have a status indicator, a LAN indicator, a power button and indicator, a drive status indicator. On the back we have an RJ45 port, we have a power port, a Kensington security slot, 2 fans, a USB 3 port and a reset button. The main reason why you would have a bigger NAS drive with more bays is for more storage. For this particular example, I'm going to add an extra terabyte to the 3rd bay. In reality, when you buy this, you'll be adding more than a terabyte, but I'm just using this as an example, as storage can get quite expensive. If you want to go all out and money is not an object for you, the maximum storage capability of the DS420j is 64 terabytes. That's a lot of data. Let's give you a quick rundown of the specifications that this NAS drive has. The CPU is a model Realtek RTD1296 on a 64-bit architecture. It's a quad-core processor at 1.4 GHz. Included is 1 GB of DDR4, and there are obviously 4 drive bays. You can use 2.5-inch SATA hard drives, and you can also use 2.5-inch SATA solid-state drives. The maximum size of the volume, so this is your storage all pulled together, is 108 terabytes. Migrating over to the latest NAS. When you're like me and you have a 4-bay NAS here that's going to replace your 2-bay, the first thing you're going to want to do is move all of your drives over to the 4-bay. That is very, very easy to do, and Synology makes it so simple. First of all, correctly power off your existing NAS drive, so just turn it off, just shut down as you normally would in the interface, and then you remove the 2 hard drives in this case. Next, take these drives and plug them into the new Synology 4-bay. For this one, once you've unscrewed the 4 screws on the back, the plate folds down, exposing the back of the drive. You can then remove the entire chassis of the NAS drive if you want, but really it's not that necessary because you can just slide out the hard drive trays, just as I've done here. Remove these hard drive trays, unscrew the current trays you had in your old NAS, and take the 2 hard drives and place them into the new trays. Once you have the new trays all hooked up, place these 2 new drive trays back into your new NAS. Now you've got your new NAS with your old storage. Next up, put the tray back up and screw the 4 screws in on the back, and use the same internet cable you had going into your old NAS, but use your new power cable this time. When you're ready, click on the power button on the new NAS and it will start up. Eventually you will see a flashing light on the front. That's to indicate you're ready for the next step. Okay, so let's head over to the PC now. Go to find.synology.com. It's then going to scan your network to see, okay, what devices do we have available to try and set up and or configure. You can see here that the Synology 420j has been found. There is an option to migrate, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Press migrate. It will then take you through a wizard. You press next, 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 OK. Easy as that. The only option or choice that you have is to keep the current configuration or wipe the drives and start again. Obviously for this one, we're going to keep the current configuration. Give it 10 or so minutes to go through the loop of the wizard. It will give you a percentage loading thing on the screen, and then eventually it will restart and you have your restored NAS drive. All of the settings will transfer over. There were some that didn't. In my case, I had to double check the IP address and set it back to what it was. And I just made sure, just for paranoia's sake, that the VPN settings and the network settings were still applied, and they were. That is literally all there is to migrating this NAS drive. You take the old disks out from your old NAS drive, you put them in your new one, you screw the back of it up, you power it on, it then prompts you to start the configuration, you head over to your PC, you find the NAS drive in the browser, you press migrate, you let it finish, you let it restart, done. And now you're ready to take advantage or even start to use your more powerful, increased storage NAS drive. When you've got this all set up and you've got your storage enabled and you've configured it exactly how you want, you can then start to take advantage of various applications that really do extend the capability. The first application is DiskStation. On the mobile device it's called DS Video, it basically connects into your NAS, and on the NAS it's called DiskStation. What DiskStation is essentially a way to centralize all of your videos that you have on your NAS drive for playback. So you can have an interface similar to your Netflix, your Plex, your Amazon Prime Video, whatever it's called. You can have a video interface to browse and play back all of your media wherever it is on your NAS drive, because it's going to scan the whole NAS drive and look for compatible video files for you then to play back. I found it really easy to use. You just go to the media, you find it, you press play, you can sort by date added and things like that. It's a very self-explanatory interface and you shouldn't have any issues at all finding your way through and using it. I did have some problems with various file types that wouldn't play, but that's on me because of the weird formats that I sometimes use. In general though, you'll be able to play back your video without any problems through DiskStation. If you have Chromecast, you can open up DS Video or DiskStation Video or DiskStation, whatever you want to refer to it as. You can then use Chromecast to display that video on your TV so you don't have to be sat at a computer. Most things are Chromecast compatible. This is no different. You also have DS Cam, otherwise known as Surveillance Station. Now, before I go into this, I must admit the cameras that I was going to try and use with Synology aren't quite compatible because they're more of a closed hub type system rather than IP cameras that you can configure with other systems, but nevertheless, I want to show you and demonstrate to you what's available within Surveillance Station so you know that you can use your cameras with this. So, what is Surveillance Station? Basically, it's a way to control, monitor, backup, maintain your camera systems through one means and one bit of software, which is Surveillance Station. First of all, you can do efficient event searching and tracking. So for example, any recordings that you do, you can add labels and bookmarks so you know to come back to it, that at this certain time I was looking for this specific thing. You can also do 100% forward and reverse playback. So high speed fast forward, high speed reverse. There's also a way to track every single event that's occurred through the logs at a single glance, so you don't have to keep going through tens of hundreds of different clips. It's all there in a timeline format. There are instant notifications that are available for you as well, and these can trigger various events. So you can know that, okay, we've just got an alert to say that camera 1 has been detected or something's happened, so here you go, jump on and have a look. You can set an email prompt so that you're always aware of exactly what's going on your system. Then when you want to get a little bit more detailed when it comes to it, you can use their new tools and advanced algorithms to check and scan the accuracy of video analytics. What I mean by that is you can actually have a certain parameter so that, for example, you can ignore everything else that goes on around the image. However, if a certain thing changes in another part, you can set a no idle zone there to say, alright, if anything moves in this tiny quadrant of the image, then alert me. Just so you don't get spammed with like a cat walking in the screen. You can actually pick exactly where you want the image to be looking for any movement. You can also do what's called a smart time lapse, which basically will put everything together and put it in a shorter length. If nothing's happened, then there's no point recording that amount of time. You can have it all in a long, massive video file, and it can then be shrunk down. Shrunk, is that a word? Then it can be reduced down to a small amount, so that it's basically compressing something that not much action has happened there, so we can compress it because it's all fairly similar. You can also back up any of these archives to local storage. That's where your NAS can come in handy. Yes, some people like to have their video files backed up online, but to reduce this storage space, what you can do is you can back up certain parts of it to local storage, be it your NAS storage or your external hard drive that's plugged in. That way you always have backups somewhere else, so you can actually use that as a highly available system. So for example, if you find that your Azure storage goes down, you have a local backup locally if you do 2 backups of the same thing. All of this is designed to help maximize storage efficiency, because over time surveillance systems can generate quite a lot of storage. You also have the handy DSCam app, which is basically the surveillance station's mobile version. This is available on both iOS and Android. You can view multiple different cameras at a glance with their multi-view monitoring. You can generate customized shortcut buttons, and again, the notifications are a thing as well. There is a demo available, and as you can see on the screen at the moment, I am using their demo that they've provided. The reason they've done this is because there's no real way to test this unless you use this demo, because it's kind of hard to buy all the cameras, set them up, see what your cameras are going to look like and test it. So they've given you kind of a demo test bench, which is really, really cool, and you don't often see that. There is a link in the description if you want to go and play around, see what the interface would look like, and see how your cameras might be able to be displayed and or archived. Really, really cool stuff from Synology here. Okay, so let's say you take loads of photos and you store it on your NAS drive. Lots of people do. They have folders and files all over their drive, and they refer back to it every once in a while to see which photos they've taken. But there's no real way to quickly put them in one place and actually see what you've been working on, so it's by date added, location taken, and things like that. Synology's attempt at doing this is using their photo station. On the mobile device, it's called DS Photos. This is a really simple app. All it's doing is scanning your NAS drive, looking for all photos, and trying to categorize them and put them in a dashboard format. It works perfectly. I don't have any complaints with this app. You go into it, you go to albums, you see all of your files and photos there. You can click it, it expands, you can see the photo, you can swipe across, you can download for local play. It's just a really simple but really well designed application. So much so that there's no real instructions on what you should be doing where. It's very intuitive, so you can load it up and know instantly, okay, if I go to the dashboard, I can see all my photos, I can see the timeline, I can add a tag, I can download the photos and things like that. It's really easy to use, simple but very, very effective. I really do like this. If I was to make any suggestion, I maybe would add a tutorial here and there for some of the more advanced features. What I mean by some of the more advanced features is there is a photo backup portion, which admittedly it was a little bit unclear of what this was used for, but eventually I found out, obviously this is a way we can just archive photos and things like that. A little bit of information here and there would have been nice to add into the app. However, its simplicity is what makes this app really clean and really effective. Synology's DiskStation Drive. This is what it says on the website. Synology makes it possible for every home and office to host your own cloud with 100% data ownership and no subscription fees. Basically, it's a Dropbox/Google Drive equivalent that you own and you can maintain and you don't have to pay extra for. What this is doing, it basically allows you to set up a structure of files and folders. Once you've done that and you have all your data there, you can then create a synced folder on any PC, application, whatever you want to use, and whenever you update files within that specific drive, it's going to update it for everyone and everything else. What that means is it enables collaboration, so you could have a Word document in your Synology drive. That means it's now shared to anyone who has access to that Synology drive. Also, the syncing portion, if you were to download them, you can then work offline. What that means is you can have your drive, you could be working away, you then get disconnected. Those files are then saved on your PC. Obviously it's not synced when you save it, but you could be on a train with no network connection, reconnect, and then your drive would sync back up to the Synology DS drive, DiskStation drive. From a server side, you have the Synology Drive application you have to install on there. You also have the Synology Drive admin console. You also have the Synology Drive ShareSync, which is the engine that drives the syncing. From a client point of view, so a user, you have the web browser which you can access the drive from. You have the desktop agent which you can also access the drive from. You have the mobile app, which on iOS and Android you can download the DS drive, access all of your files and folders just as you would normally when you're accessing your drive, as well as if you want to get a bit more advanced and you have another Synology drive, you can enable cross-site syncing. I won't go into too much detail about that, but essentially you can sync across multiple sites with multiple devices. That's a bit more advanced, so a link is in the description below. Just in case you were wondering, it doesn't sync everything immediately, unless you want it to. It does feature on-demand sync. What this does is you can see all of your files and folders ready to be synced and always have access to them, provided you have an internet connection. However, it doesn't actually sync or download them to your PC unless you open or edit them. You will see it as a picture of a cloud, which means it's visible and usable, but it's not downloaded, it's purely in the cloud or on the internet. When you open it and you save it, it will then have a tick with the same place that had that picture of a cloud. This works the same way with OneDrive. It's a way of making sure it doesn't blow out all of your storage on your PC. The only time it does that is when you use the files, so you can consider it an extension of your PC. It's a really smart and really simple way of keeping storage space available, and it seems to work very, very well. I tried it with a variety of different types of file and a different amount, and I didn't have any issues when editing. Every time I edited it, it came up as a notification on Windows 10 to say, okay, updated, so I knew it was constantly modifying, tweaking and updating the file and syncing it into the DS drive and not just on my PC. So it works really, really well. You can be sure this is a very, very solid product. They've obviously tested this quite a lot because it's going to be used in a variety of different business cases, and it's important to get this right. And I feel like with the DS drive, they really, really have. It's a very, very cool product. And the fact that it's your own data, it doesn't cost you money, and it's on your NAS drive, that's just the icing on the cake. Also available within Drive is what they call their Intelli versioning algorithm. To put a long and boring story short, it's going to remember version history of particular files and folders. It will only back up and archive particular checkpoints when a significant change has been made. So that means it's not going to constantly be doing different version history updates. So you can say, okay, I wanted that specific design a week ago that I had. Just right click and restore to a previous version. That way it's going to pick up the checkpoint that it thinks is the most significant based on the timestamp, and you can restore it. That way you again save space, which space is very, very valuable. It's not going to have every single little update, it's going to only do the significant changes, i.e. a delete or a major change. You can also back up your files. So for example, on my PC, I clicked on backup and I backed up everything under my particular directory on my PC. It's going to consistently back it up so that whenever I make any changes on a file or a folder under that directory, it's going to sync it, constantly sync it. Keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. Every change that you make, obviously storage dependent. In the system tray near the clock, you can see the drive syncing status. So every time you make a change, it's going to say processing, syncing, processing, syncing. So you've always got a backup in another directory on your NAS as you're working on your PC. That is damn cool. And finally, we're going to talk about Hyper Backup. Hyper Backup is an extremely powerful tool that lets you define a backup source and a backup destination from many different variations, be it a local NAS folder, another disk on the same NAS, or even a specific folder in the cloud. Outside of this review and my YouTube channel, actually my full-time job, I work for an IT company, and for various customers I've used Hyper Backup very, very extensively. and I have to say it's never let me down. I can tell you that without question, one of the most valuable features of this tool is to explore the timeline. For example, you can set up a backup to happen every single Friday. Once that backup has complete, it will then mark it as a backed up time. Let's say a few months pass, and you think, damn, on Friday, 3 weeks ago, I had that file that I really needed. You can use the File Explorer within the Hyper Backup and just go to that file at a file level and just restore the file. The interface is very easy to use and doesn't require any specific IT skills or any interface training or anything like that. It's just, okay, what date, when, restore. Job done. Not a problem. Another classic example of Hyper Backup that is used on a regular basis around the world with different companies is the backup to cloud. Let's say you're working on your NAS drive, you've got various different videos, pictures, Word documents that you need to back up every day to Azure or AWS, Amazon Web Services, or Google Drive. They are fully compatible with Hyper Backup, so you can make an automated everyday backup that goes to the cloud, so you don't even have to think about it anymore. Then you have peace of mind knowing that your files and folders are fully backed up off-site, i.e. in a cloud storage system, as well as your NAS drive. It's just backing up just because you'd find where using an account and it's fully connected. It's almost like a scheduled backup task externally and or internally if you want to. If you're thinking of buying a NAS drive for small business or even home use on a more technical level, like this NAS drive is suitable for, I would highly recommend at the very least having Hyper Backup set up. Even if it's for saving those photos that you took and just making sure they're backed up every week. Just something simple like that. It's such a quick thing to set up, but produces such valuable tasks that one day you'll thank yourself and go, damn, I'm so glad I had that backup task set. Then I can just load up my drive, find the file that was backed up that I totally forgot about, and now I can recover. Great. Hyper Backup is a must. Fantastic bit of software, hasn't let me down to this day, and I've been using it for a while, even before this NAS drive, even before this review. And as I said, I use it quite regularly through my workplace because we help customers with their NAS drives, and Hyper Backup is always a flawless product. Okay, so in summary, with the Synology DiskStation 420j 4-bay NAS drive, you're going to be buying this NAS for two reasons. Number one, more drives is more storage. That's obvious. Number two is for the really well designed and really well implemented apps that come with this NAS drive available within the marketplace or the package center or whatever it's called nowadays. If you're looking for a 4-bay NAS drive, I'm going to recommend this one. From my experience, I use it, and I use it right now. A few of the things I've reviewed in the past, I've used for a period of time. I've set them up how they'd expect me to. I've used it, then I've kind of got bored of it and then it kind of sat in the shelf and that was the end of that. With this, it's already part of my house. It's already next to the TV in my media setup and it's not going anywhere. If you need a 4-bay NAS drive with enterprise grade apps for multimedia, for backup, for file sharing, for collaboration, all of the above and more, please consider looking at the Synology DS420j 4-bay NAS drive. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Adam from Ads Productions with another video review.